host, Rah Kalon. So excited to have you here with me and so thankful to be here with you. We have a special episode for you today. But before I get into our special treat, I want to make sure that I remind you to, 1, subscribe to this channel. If you have not already, it really is a blessing when you subscribe for me, and it's a blessing for you too. And it also makes it easier to share these videos with your friends and your family and your tribe. So that leads me to 2. Share these videos. These things are blessing you, aren't they? So make sure they get a chance to bless other people too. I encourage you to at least share with 2 other people, because those 2 people might be the exact same people who needed to hear this message. And then 3, if you have not already followed us on social media, and though I am trying to unplug in some capacity, plug into EnergyNMotion on Instagram. It's a place to get refueled, to get new information and updates on what the future episodes are going to be about. And with the hiatus that's coming up after episode 20 next week, you're going to want to know when EnergyNMotion is coming back in 2020. Don't miss out. Follow us on Instagram. And then most importantly of all, I want to remind you that this show, this time, is your time. It's your show. It's your safe space to talk about and to think about these things that we don't really get to talk about or think about on a regular, open, social basis. So I invite you, relax, enjoy this episode with all its special surprises, and tell me what you think.
Well, hello. I am honored to host your favorite podcast that's on your playlist. I am Judah Hoggabook, and the title of today's episode of EnergyNMotion is Beaming Joy. Yes, you turned on the right show. This is EnergyNMotion. And my guest for this evening is indeed the founder and original host. She is the love activist and works with people one-on-one to build healthy relationships with themselves. She is an actress in the web series Kismet, which should release in 2020. For more details on any of these dope things that she has coming up, feel free to reach out at 3InMotion on Instagram, or you can email her at rahkalon@gmail.com. I am honored to welcome an incredible daughter, sister, aunt, and life coach, the one and only Rah Kalon. Welcome, Rah.
Oh, you just make me so proud. You're just such a sweetheart.
Our episode this evening is called Beaming Joy. One of the wonderful definitions that I saw is by the gentleman by the name of Eckhart Tolle, in which, Rah, you shared many a times. I love his definition on joy. He says, joy does not come from what you do. It flows into what you do, and thus into this world from deep within you. When you think about joy, Rah, what comes to mind to you?
When I think about joy, I would say bliss. I would say peace. I would say warm, happy tears when I think about joy. Mm-hmm. It's warmth. It's this settling warmth inside you, inside your chest, inside your heart chakra, as I'm learning lately, and it wraps you up. It almost cocoons you, and it's sweet like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
How about for you when you think of joy?
I think of joy definitely coming from an inner space within myself. Mm-hmm. It's like connecting with that consciousness that brings forth kind of love as well as peace. It kind of resonates. I think a lot of folks, I was looking at definitions like through dictionary and even through the Urban Dictionary, and I was thinking, you guys line up joy more with happiness. You don't understand the full presence of what joy can release. And in doing so, I realized how much it's more of an inner thing that it's like it's steadfast. It doesn't go up and down. It's more of just this continual standard that continues to grow and to develop throughout life.
Yeah, I would agree. It's definitely an inner life creation that people often seek in their outer life and get very disappointed because it is used in the same way that happiness is. And it's not the same thing.
It's really not. It's really not. Going back in our youth, when you think back growing up, now in hindsight, do you consider joy something that people made a decision to do, to experience, or was it one of those you had it or you didn't?
I think we grew up in a very blessed environment because the people who were rearing us were joyful people. At least Mom was. Dad wasn't always so joyful at the time. Shout out to Dad. Dad knows he wasn't joyful all the time back then. But Mom was just a ball of light, and she was our ball of light. And so it was really hard not to be joyful around that woman. She just made it look fun. And so I think it makes sense why a lot of people, if what you're raised around is negative, it makes sense to be negative because what we were raised around was joyful. And so it just made sense to be joyful. Yeah. And for a lot of people, I understand that it seems almost suspicious. Why are you so happy? Aren't you aware that tragedy strikes and that unfair things happen to very fair people and all of that? But it still just doesn't make sense to not lead with a foundation of joy. Yeah, you'll get disappointed. Yeah, you'll get pissed off. Yeah, you'll get your feelings hurt. You'll get embarrassed. You'll be publicly shamed sometimes. All of that. But it still feels better to fall back onto joy than to fall back onto what else?
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. I definitely see it as it's like an approach. It's a way in which you kind of see through life.
It's a lens.
It is. It's a perfect lens.
The rose-colored lenses, as some people might say. But yeah, it's a choice.
And I realize more and more that joy isn't something that's just naive. It's not, I'm this happy-go-lucky, optimistic person. It's a resonance on the inside that allows me to see that good. Yeah. It helps me be able to make decisions, be able to understand things compared to looking at it through a lens of fear. And being more pessimistic as to, okay, these things are going to go on. And even if it's good things, something bad is going to sooner or later take place. Yeah. It's a realization of whether it's good or bad, I'm going to enjoy this particular point in my life and then look forward to the next thing that's ahead.
Yeah, because what else do you want to do with your time? Do you want to be mad? I don't want to be mad. I would rather be wrong and happy or wrong and joyful than upset and right. Yeah. I'd rather that.
When you look at society today, what do you consider important as far as to be able to reach and connect with joy? Do you see it something that people are into nowadays, or is it just something that they hope they'll run into in their lives?
I think people innately want joy because of people being innately made of love. And so love and joy in some capacity do go hand in hand. Yeah. Just energetically in general. So I think people ache for that deeply, but they go about it in different ways, backwards ways. They put the cart before the horse in some instance of trying to make the external look the way they want it to, so they will hopefully feel better on the internal. And we now are learning more commonplace socially that you need to work on your insides in order for your outside to reflect something different. And I think it's brilliant that this day and age we've gotten to the point where we think that way, because before it seemed too, whimsical, too magical to think that it was just within you to fix it. But now I think we're recognizing that responsibility of it is within you to fix it. It's not easy. It doesn't make it easier. In fact, it makes it much more difficult. There's a lot more responsibility. And that's why a lot of people like to project and say, I think it's someone else's fault that I feel this way. Yeah. I'm not happy because of this or this job, instead of actually saying, I take responsibility that I have not been fruitful in what I've been thinking. I haven't been fruitful in what I've been energetically putting out into the universe. And if you don't know better, you can't do better. But as soon as you catch whim to podcasts like this, or like the 1,000 other podcasts that are empowering out there, as soon as you start to inquire at all about doing better, that asking is shot out into the universe, and it will come back with an answer no matter what nook or cranny of the world you live in.
True.
You can't hide from it. It will find you. You just have to know that you want to be found.
Yeah. And then and once you catch it, it's holding on to it. Not just thinking, oh, this is good for this period of time, and then wait for the next wave to come through, but really to hold on to it, put it under your belt, and then move forward from there.
Yeah. And then I also think that in some ways it's dangerous to hold on to it too tight, because it is the fear of what we lose that makes us not even pursue things in the first place. So maybe that's why a lot of people are content not being joyful, because to be joyful and then to not be joyful, what type of loss is that to feel? I'd rather not feel it at all. But it is very much like the quote, I'd rather have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. And I would rather be joyful and then be miserable, as dumb as that sounds emotionally. To my emotional self, that sounds like suicide. But I would rather be joyful and then be miserable than to never have been joyful at all. Because if I actually train myself to be present, then that joy is timeless. Yeah. Just like if I train myself to be present, in all honesty, that sorrow is timeless also. But impermanence is a thing, and everything shall pass. So...
And see, my upbringing with joy for me personally, I'm thinking of two traumatic things that I've been through in my life. I'm thinking of the passing of our firstborn with Josiah. I'm thinking of the passing of our mom. And in both situations, it was very interesting because that's what I keep thinking of it being kind of like a foundation of I would expect both of them were just traumatic. I would be boo-hooing and I wouldn't be able to connect or to communicate with anyone. But on the flip side, when I went through those experiences, I could understand that there was an awareness that the presence of joy was still there, that I could communicate, I could make decisions, and I wasn't this shut in and in a dark situation. Same thing was with mom. You, Anna, had the ability to just be able to be aware, to be able to understand, and then to be there for Dad the way we needed to, and then to be able to just kind of function and live our lives. To this day, it's amazing to me that I've never had this woe is me experience when it came to mom. And because of that, I don't know why. It's the most ridiculous things. Is to this day, I am still waiting 5 years later. Sooner or later, I am going to have this week in which
I feel like a victim.
I'm going to feel like a victim. And it is that joy on the inside that just to this day, it hasn't taken place. And I'm thankful, but I'm also wondering why.
Why not?
And that's true.
Why not? I mean, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. And I think I need to be honest with myself and with you and with people listening. I say so bravely, like I'd rather choose joy and then to be miserable. But that shit ain't light, yo. Like that's not, I don't say that like half-heartedly. Like I say that with the full awareness that I would not want to experience misery right now. I would not ask to experience that, right? But there might be something that will bring me so much joy on the other side of this misery that if I am willing to be obedient, if I'm willing to be if I'm willing to surrender to the misery and not lose sight of the fact that love did not forget about me. The universe, God did not forget about me. This is a passing moment and I will feel all of it. I will feel every ache in every physical part of my body, every emotional part of my body. I will feel it because I know that this too is impermanent. And so I don't want to make it sound like just choosing joy and understanding the risk of being hurt later on is this light thing. It is not a light thing. It is still a very brave thing that I sometimes don't want to be brave and do. I often would like to stay small. I am a big personality, big energy, but the human part of me very genuinely sometimes is like, no, if I could just make this comfortable, if I could just stay here. And I think it's hard to share that sometimes because you want to be always open to change because I know in my spiritual body, in my emotional, and even in my mental, I do know that change is the only thing constant other than the unchanging stillness of my true self that lives within. Everything in this physical world is impermanent and is changing. And so I want to be very fluid with that because I'm aware of it. But there are so many times that I am so resistant because I'm aware of it also.
I want to break this down because in listening to you, I understand like happiness comes and goes. In my opinion, joy is something that is so constant that things may come up in our lives that'll mask over consistently that we may feel like we're having a rough battle with this particular point in our lives. But it's not that the joy disappeared and went somewhere. But the joy, to me, the joy is always there. It's just you got to break through all the different masks to be able to get back into that place of joy.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree that joy goes anywhere. I think you're distracted from joy.
There you go.
I don't think that joy, just like love, doesn't go anywhere. Like these things don't leave. And that's why it's so frustrating when you can't feel them because you are the reason you can't feel them. You are the thing that is holding this resistance, this force field, trying so hard to keep something from getting out that you can't let certain things in. And so I don't think that joy leaves, but I do think that the human experience can be very distracting if you allow yourself to be easily distracted. It will even make you feel that you are more logical for being distracted. but it's not. It's a facade, and it sounds hippie to say it's a facade, but it really is, because those things aren't going to feed you. Not your spirit body. Now, your human body, it very well may be that it feeds your human body, but it won't feed your spiritual body.
Mm-hmm. What experiences in the last 10 years could you think of that you had an opportunity for joy to express itself through you? And then the opportunity was there, but then you either decided to use that as an advantage or to not even use it at all.
So an opportunity that I was given to use joy, and did I use it or did I not?
Yes.
I would say that with the work that I do at the nonprofit, I always am given the opportunity to use joy. I would say that there have been times that I have chosen not to, not because I felt some ill will towards spreading joy, but more so because it felt like there was a more purposeful feeling to bring to this moment than joy. And since joy is always there, it was still the underlying foundation of what I was bringing to the experience, as in I was bringing structure. Mm-hmm. So I could have brought feel-good moments, but there was a situation that needed structure. My joyful ass joyfully provided structure. Yeah. And so that's the only instance I could actually speak to when I don't vividly and enthusiastically, with a smile and so forth, bring joy. All the other things that I do in the nonprofit I work for, all the things that I do with my just natural philanthropy, my natural love of giving hugs and high fives, hosting love runs, all these different things, writing love notes for people who aren't good at writing love notes for themselves. They tell me enough about the person they care about, and I'm like, does this describe them? And they're like, fuck yeah, sending it now. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But just all these different things are ways to connect with people and to spread joy, because it doesn't look as good on me if I don't get to share that wardrobe with other people. I want everybody to look good in it. It's just not as fun by yourself. It's still fun. Yeah. Do not for a second think it's not fun, because I'll be in a room full of people who have chosen not to be joyful and will be happy to wear it by myself. Mm-hmm. But I would rather be in good company, great company. Yeah. And
we both of us are ones in which we enjoy being in a positive atmosphere.
Absolutely.
And we really are the flip side of when they say misery loves company. A joyous attitude and a joyous spirit enjoys.
A joyous attitude and a joyous spirit. Indeed. It does. We do.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. Well, with all the incredible things that you just shared that brings forth joy in other people, what were some of the things, I mean, do they come naturally for you to come up with the ideas to be able to do these things, or is it?
I would say that it's inspired action most of the time. I'll think about the ways that I, without having any intention to, have helped people, and think about how there might be other people out there interested in that. That's how, like, even doing love notes for people became a thing. Just because I did it one time and someone enjoyed it so much that I put it out there and was like, you know, today, this Friday, I'm going to do love notes. If you need a breakup note, if you need a love note, like whatever you need, I'll do it. And I got a couple takers and it was fun. I think those little opportunities are a fun, like, rat-a-tat between me and the universe of, did you hear what I planted in you? And it's like, yeah, I heard that. And did you do anything with it? Yeah, I did a little something with it. And then store it away for later until another opportunity arrives to do it again on a bigger, more amplified scale. But yeah, I do sometimes try to create. But when I try to create, it never comes out as good as when the inspired action hits me. The things that I try to create, they still do well. They still go fine. But my more proud moments come from the inspired action. So like the experience, the homecoming experience, that was inspired action. I wouldn't have thought I'm going to put on an event and I'm going to talk to people about how they can find their home within themselves, even though that's what I love to do. So it's almost like so obvious. Why wouldn't you have had an idea to do that? But it wasn't my idea. And so the fact that it went as well as it did, for it to be my first event, for me to be new to all of this, a newbie, a novice, I felt very excited and proud that I was obedient, that I surrendered, that I listened, that I took a chance, and that I didn't get discouraged when it didn't look great, and that when it started to look great, that I stayed humble. I very much enjoyed the balance of it.
And I will definitely speak wholeheartedly with the experience, because getting the opportunity to be there and to share in that, it was incredible, because you hit people's hearts in such a way that they knew they needed it. And then they were able to take off from that foundation that you provided. So thank you on behalf of so many people who said thank you or haven't. thank you for taking that time. And I'm looking forward to the next opportunity. I've told you once before, and I am excited whenever that will be. If that's across state somewhere.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
To take off and get a chance to just enjoy around people that need that opportunity to recognize the truth within themselves.
Yeah.
And to see that identity that they've seen all that time, and then to be able to realize, oh, there's more to life than what I've been doing all day.
Yeah, and I think it's a sweet release. And so that's why the thank yous that I've received from everybody mean so much, not because they remembered to say thank you, but just because they wanted to say anything still afterwards. Yeah. So it was a precious event for all of us. Yeah.
Awesome. I've gone through all my questions.
You've gone through all your questions?
Yeah.
What a great guest host. You did good, man. Well, I think that as a wrap up, did you have a take a beat moment?
I did.
I think that you should deliver a profound Hagabook take a beat moment.
Well, I believe that joy definitely comes from a connection with the inner consciousness. That just as you get a chance to breathe and be still, it gives you the opportunity to then just kind of reset yourself. And in resetting yourself, then that innermost being gets a chance to be revitalized. You get a chance to be at peace. You get a chance to rest. And then in doing so, the joy that is already there from the inside gets a chance to come out. And you find yourself being still and enjoying that particular point in time. What I love so much about having a yoga experience is it allows you to then focus yourself in on that inner core and allows the core of your body to be strengthened and to be developed. Joy comes from that inner core, from the spiritual side, and it allows you to then be able to see things in a newer view, see life in a whole new lens that'll allow you to then be able to perceive different things that you couldn't have perceived before. It allows you to then be able to listen to people that in the sense of fear and the sense of being task oriented may keep you from being able to understand those things.
He's a sweetie, isn't he? I'm glad he's my brother. Very thankful he's my brother. He's always been big-hearted. He's always been kind. He's always been sweet to me and authentic and always himself. So thank you, Judah. Thank you for loving me how you've always loved me. Thank you for being an example of beaming joy, even when me as your baby sister was not always beaming the joy back. And thank you for being my safe space. I do love you, brother of mine. So, to the rest of you EnergyNMotion family members, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing this video with at least 2 people in your life. And thank you for following us on 3EnMotion on Instagram, because all of these things are ways to keep us close, that keep us able to share this beaming joy we each have with one another, because I want to keep sharing it with you. So, as always, EnergyNMotion family, you get to feel whatever you feel, and you will always deserve to heal. Peace.
One love, you're heading on your own love. Time not to be there. She says she won't care. Now you have something.